So over the years, my singing voice, I've been losing range at the top. So as a young man into my 20s, I could hit a B above C, which that's a big note. That's Steve Perry level. He can go higher, but that's up there where, Journey songs are and stuff. And over the years, it's slowly, just a few cents, which a cent is a tenth of a half step, just a few cents a year, it's been sliding down. And so in recent years, I've gone from a B down to an A, and then even down to a G sharp, which I didn't like at all. I need to be able to sing G's for what I do now. And then there were weeks where I couldn't hit a G, and my top was around an F or an F sharp, which was really bothering me. And then last week I got sick and lost my voice for about 5 days. Came back today. I have the A back today. Really? It added, yeah. I have no idea what the biology of that is, but yeah, I suddenly had those top notes back. I was singing Coverdale, Whitesnake stuff today while I was driving, and I was singing "Here I Go Again." I could hit every note. Nice. I was like, "This is awesome, man! It's back."
It's usually, you get sick and you got that low. You can really stay in that low register, and it sounds so good.
I know. My voice sounded great on the pod last week, but I can't generate that every time. But yeah.
So yeah, with the pod, hopefully after this week, our numbers might be, it's still kind of struggling just a bit because of, because China, right?
Yeah, we're having trouble getting in the algorithm for something right now, but I'm going to try a few things. I've still got a few other suggested fixes, because all you can do is watch other YouTube videos of people that have had the same thing happen and see what they did. The Google people are not extremely helpful. And they probably don't think I'm very helpful either, but no. So yeah, so we haven't called any algorithm waves in a while, but yeah, hopefully within the next few weeks we'll see some market improvement.
Yeah. So your dad's got a new lake house.
Yeah.
Bought a lake house, closed on it in the past few weeks, and that's Sinclair.
Lake Sinclair. They my parents are 80 and 75, and they've always wanted to live on the water, so they bought a tiny little place. Not little actually, but they bought a place on the lake. There's mansions on that lake. That's the reason I say tiny, but it's a normal size house. And they have a pontoon boat and a dock, and I gave my dad his birthday's in January. I gave him a fishing pole, kind of celebrating the fact he was about to close on his new lake house, and he caught him a 10.5-pound catfish with it the other night. So it's already worth the ridiculous price he paid for it as far as he's concerned.
I got a feeling me and you might spend some time up there.
Yeah.
Take some time off work to kind of help get the place in a working order.
That's the Camp David of the dog show right there.
Yes. I can foresee it, and setting up there and doing one with the lake in the background possibly. We actually done podcasts.
Yeah.
For some of our fans who have listened in over the years. We've done podcasts on location, a lot of times in the woods. We've done some camping trips where we sat next to a fire, and
we did one where it was 15 degrees. We did a podcast.
Yeah, we weren't talking Georgia football that one. Mm-mm. We were getting the heck out of there.
That was brutal. That was my system. It took my system days to recover. I remember coming home and taking a shower, and the water felt so hot it hurt my skin because I'd been freezing for about 50 hours.
It seemed like it.
Having hypothermia.
And it is. I mean, we hammock camp, and that may seem foreign to a lot of people, but as you get older, it doesn't feel great to be on the ground. And even if you are on a mattress, it still doesn't feel great. And the mattresses kind of lose air a lot of times.
Oh, those air mattresses are terrible.
So we tried, we tried hammock camping, and we put a little layer of on the bottom of the hammock is like a yoga mat that gives it some structure. Yeah. And then you need a decent sleeping bag, and I use a neck pillow. Mm-hmm. But when it was 20 degrees a couple times, and you had to dress accordingly. You had to sleep that way. And I think once you got in the right spot, we were okay. One time, Smooch, you left your sleeping bag and had to just use blankets.
Yeah, yeah. There was it was probably around freezing that time. And yeah, I packed everything but my sleeping bag, and we got there, and luckily between Troop and his son, I was able to scrounge together 2 blankets, and it still was nowhere near your sleeping bag. You know, we have really nice sleeping bags, so they're very warm. But, you know, all we need to camp is 2 trees close enough together, and we each put our hammocks up.
As soon as we get to a camp, we're looking at trees and like, I can put a hammock between there.
That's it. That's it. And that's a camp. And it allows you a lot of freedom with where you can go. But yeah, I didn't have my sleeping bag, and so I had to sleep. The blankets worked if I slept in all my clothes. So I had to wear my big Carhartt coat, and even that second night I had to wear my shoes because it was really cold.
Good luck if you have to urinate in the middle of the night with all that wrapped up on you.
Oh my gosh, so difficult. I can remember the time you and I went where it was down in the teens that let me turn this off. Hold on, my God, I forgot to silence everything on my phone. Do not disturb. There we go. But I remember I got up in the morning and I got out of the hammock, and the cold was like a punch in the face. It was like needles stabbing you in the body, and I just took off running. I was like, I've got to get my heart rate up because I am so cold. My hands were shaking so much I couldn't operate my zipper on my pants. And so I literally just ran and then paced back and forth for 5-10 minutes just to feel like I was up and functioning. And then Troop said, "Hey, how do you feel about calling this a day early?" And I said, I'm in, buddy.
That was so, because we do pack a lot of firewood. I've never packed as much firewood. We'll stay a couple of nights, but I have a Gladiator, a Jeep Gladiator, and a Silverado full size. And so we will pack half of that truck bed with firewood and stacked up, as high as you can get it. And so tons of firewood. We will just burn it because that's part of camping. So
it should also be noted that the reason you have to take Troop and I camp almost exclusively in state parks, and you can't cut down firewood in those places. That's the reason.
Well, actually, I mean, we've done more what they call dispersed camping, Smooch.
Yeah.
Which I guess it's in a state park, but when most people hear that, they think you got designed campsites.
Oh no, these are not designed campsites.
We just pull out. Disperse means you find your own campsite, and so we'll just travel back roads until we find a spot that looks like what we want.
Yeah. How far do we have to carry our food set up? That's what it comes down to. And we've gone down roads that aren't roads. Eat well. Yeah, we one time
we bring a lot in.
We one time pulled up into a state park, and there was a really large hill, and we're like, I wonder if we could camp on top of that. And there just weren't a lot of trees on it. There was no road or anything. We just drove the Jeep up on top of that hill and found 4 trees and put the hammocks out and camped on top of there. And that was the night my hammock got shaken in the middle of the night.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for sure. It wasn't me, but no. So like in Tennessee, they have a lot more like dispersed camping. You can do that in Tennessee. We've traveled Tennessee to Kentucky, near Kentucky on western Tennessee, and we've done some Georgia camping too, of course, because I'm in Georgia, Smooch is in Alabama. But anyway, looking for specific areas for certain reasons. We just disperse camp. We don't want to camp around anybody for the most part. We've done it a little bit, but for the most part, we don't want people around us.
Yeah, we've been out for 4 days before without seeing or even hearing a human being. Yeah. I mean, we're out there. Sometimes miles away from the nearest person.
Just so you folks know, this is Dogs After Dark, Dog Show After Dark. And go ahead and give us a like right now, if you will, and subscribe to this. This is just a part of a dog show that we're going to talk about some dog stuff. We got some Mike Bobo stuff tonight and some Bobo derangement syndrome. We're going to talk about some other things too. One thing I got this, we talked about some tobacco and pipes last week. Smooch just got his pipe. Anything different about that one or the tobacco you're smoking?
Yeah, this is a tobacco from the cigar room here in Madison, Alabama. That's a custard flavor, and it is probably the most aromatic that I've ever had. As a matter of fact, I can take a pinch of this and put it in any candle. You just take a pinch of the tobacco and drop it on the top of one of those candles your wife pays $30 for no reason whatsoever. You just put it on the top of that, and it will fill the house with the most nice masculine smell. it's a really nice smelling tobacco. And so it's really aromatic, has a great taste. And this is an Irish pipe. Now you can see the little green stem on it. This is an Irish pipe. I'm trying to remember the name. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read it. But yeah, this is the bowl is actually a little thinner, and so it's not weighty. So when I'm driving long distances, this is the one I carry in the car with me, so I can keep it between my teeth.
I look for the Queen Anne's Revenge tobacco, and it's really hard to find at this point, right?
It's real hard to find. There's only one place here I can find it.
Couldn't find it. Smooch mentioned that last episode, and I was like, okay, that's one he really likes. Let me check it out. But I do that with tobacco. Smooch, he'll bring me cigars when we go to ball games or go camping or go to Alaska. We'll get cigars. He'll pick out the right ones, and I pick out the whiskey. And I got a drink right here, and I thought I would share a little bit about. I enjoy whiskey and I enjoy old fashions. Now I will like a really quality whiskey. I'll just drink it neat. But just a typical old fashioned, which I have found people don't have knowledge to make just a regular decent old fashioned.
It's crazy,
confusing to me.
Yeah, even in really nice restaurants, sometimes it's a major problem.
Yeah, if you send me a glass of whiskey and an old fashioned that has chipped ice in it, I already know it's going to be terrible. And so I make my own ice. I mean, I make clear block ice and cut it to the size of my glasses. And, that's just a starting point.
You boil the water, right? Don't you boil the water?
You don't have to boil it. No,
okay.
It's just directional freezing.
Okay.
Look it up, folks. Directional freezing. You have to take it out. You can't leave it there, but a certain number of hours. You have to know 24 hours or a little bit around there. You got to know because you don't want to freeze a big block. It's got this directional freezing. You chip off the bottom of it, which is where the impurities lie.
Oh, okay.
And then cut it up. But, so a classic old fashioned. And I make several different kinds, but a classic one is just 3 ingredients. It's whatever your whiskey of choice is. I like something close to 100 proof. Now I've gone up. I've made my old fashions and loved them at 130 proof. Some Elijah Craig barrel proof. I did that for a good while. Larceny barrel proof, and like 125 when it was there. And then my sweet spot for a while was 110, 115, which was like a Wild Turkey rare breed or a Russell's Reserve single barrel. But if you ever go to a bar and you just want a classic old fashioned, and you're not hardcore needing high proof whiskey, if they have Rittenhouse Rye, it's 101 proof or 100 proof. It's bonded, barreled and bonded in barrel. So you can get that at 100 proof. It's a barely a rye, but it's perfect for a good spicy old fashioned. I never mix any old fashioned over 2 ounces, so 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces. Usually, it's easier to kind of my little jigger is if you fill it to the top, it's 2 ounces. So I'll a lot of times start with 2 ounces right there, and maybe a quarter of an ounce, maybe a little more sometimes. I use a Demerara syrup. You can use a simple syrup, which is just sugar and water, 1-to-1 ratio. But I use a Demerara syrup, which is a little bit richer, and I use a little less of it. But it's got more body to it, so I use about a little bit less than a quarter of an ounce of Demerara syrup, 2-to-1 in terms of terms of sugar to water. You can buy Demerara sugar. You can order it at Walmart places. Really? And then just different bitters. Right now I've got. So here's what I got right now. I have a split-based old fashioned, a little bit different. It's got 2 different whiskeys in it. It's got Elijah Craig small batch, an ounce, and Michter's Rye.
Interesting.
And right at 95 proof altogether in there with Demerara syrup and Mexican mole bitters and a little Angostura. Now, if I was making this for somebody else, or if I had it, I would express an orange over it and make it smell delicious too. That's just a classic old fashioned. You can, and like I said, I've got lots of different ones that I mess around with. But
they're magical. They're magical. Around a campfire, there may not be anything better in the world than a Troop Brinson old fashioned. It is pretty much amazing.
Anywhere we go. Me and Smooch have been all over the country, and bars and restaurants and whatever I order, Smooch says, make it 2.
That's right. That's right. I do not think about it.
He trusts my selection. And where have we had old fashioned? We've had them in several towns in Alaska. We've had them in New York. We've had them in Arizona,
Alaska, New York, Arizona, probably Texas,
Pennsylvania. I think the Texas days were when we were traveling out there.
We were younger
more
then,
beer
so
drinkers.
it might have been more stupid.
We were beer drinkers then. We didn't drink much whiskey back in our early years. So
yeah, we were not refined, refined gentlemen that we are today at that time.
That's right. We have learned whiskey and tobacco.
Yeah,
and I think that is definitely in our Texas days. And maybe our next Dog Show After Dark would be. We'll talk about our Texas days, which will branch off to some other things that me and Mitch have traveled and seen and done. Anyway, I'm liking this. The last episode, if you guys haven't seen it, pull up Dogs After Dark. It was a really good one. Yep. And we don't always going to talk about Georgia stuff, but again, it's Combine week.
Yeah.
And I was on the Dawg vent. I'm on the Dawg vent and Dogs HQ a good bit. And I was on the Dawg vent yesterday, and I saw somebody tag something with Noah Thomas. Georgia got 1 year out of him. Had heard all the hype from the practices leading up to the season, and then he had a couple of good games. The Texas game, I think, was his best game.
He had a splash play against somebody, a big splash. I can't remember. It wasn't.
But he really had a long run after the catch. Yes, where he reverse field. Yeah. And so I was like, what are they talking about with Noah Thomas? The video on TikTok. Yeah. And so he posted 2 or 3 plays of him shaking a defender and getting wide open on some plays and not getting the ball.
Mm-hmm. And
first of all, what do you think about that? Him putting that? Why is he putting that on TikTok?
Well, I think we know. I think it's desperation when you're at the Combine because there's a lot on the line. I think he came to Georgia with the feeling that he would have more of a Zachariah Branch impact, and he simply did not. He did not have that type of impact. If you cannot block, and if you are not assignment sound, you do not stay on the field for Kirby Smart. It is as simple as that. It was interesting to me that this video, which was almost like a gotcha video, right? Like I was open, I didn't get the ball. So you're either blaming Bobo or Gunner or both, probably more Bobo because he's the guy that people that don't know football blame. But my problem with the video, I expected like this expose type of video where it's like 10 minutes of him being open and not getting the ball. It was 4 plays. There's 4 plays. There's 12.
You might have more.
Yeah. There's how many games they played? 14. They played 14 games. Yeah. Roughly 56 plays a game.
He probably was underutilized. Mm-hmm. He had a different skill set, but he was trying. Honestly, Kirby. He was getting more snaps because Kobe Young got hurt. Mm-hmm. Kobe was that dude. Yeah, and just couldn't. It wasn't healthy this last season. But yeah, I was like, but I didn't get very far. Mm-hmm. I watched the clips, but then I read responses. I didn't know where they were going with it on the Dawg vent.
BDS
and what I determined,
syndrome.
was there was some derangement syndrome going on. Not Trump derangement syndrome, which is a pretty hefty syndrome. It was the Bobo derangement syndrome, which means anything that happens that isn't positive for your team. I don't care if somebody returns a kick for a touchdown, Mike Bobo.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, And so they looking at these plays, and there were several posters who were just full on 100% lock. They were just convicted that showing this was Mike Bobo's fault. And there were other venters on there that were like, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
What are you talking about? Why this is not Mike Bobo's fault.
How can it be a coach's fault that a quarterback doesn't hit an open receiver? Is the coach saying ignore the open guys? What are they? What are they maintaining?
Yeah, the response was, well, who's his coach? Who's the quarterback coach? Who's the OC? That's not working with him and say, hey, these guys are open. All that stuff is hindsight. If you looked at any game, I assure you, there are receivers running open for any team, and you can pick it out and say, oh, you missed this one.
If Alabama would have thrown to Ryan Williams every time he was wide open against Georgia, we would have lost twice, just so you know.
But what they didn't, what I will say, I think Bobo's got his faults. I don't think there's anybody, any coach at any position at any school that's beyond reproach. First of all,
yeah.
But and we'll talk about in a minute. I think why Bobo has these, why people feel this way about Bobo, but what Noah didn't show and what the Bobo derangement fans didn't talk about was you couldn't see what else happened. You couldn't see, well, maybe protection broke down on this play and he had to escape traffic. He had to roll out. He got pushed. You don't know.
Well, one of them was an RPO. Like, I don't think they were even throwing on one of them. Like, I mean, of course, there's a lot of factors before we go rushing to blame the offensive coordinator for a receiver not getting 4 balls.
That was my main takeaway, is that if you are a football fan who is grounded and not trying to blame just this one thing that just gets under your skin no matter what, you just live in that derangement and just despise this individual, then you look at that play and say, oh, Gunner, I wish Gunner was looking there. I wish Gunner hadn't moved on from that progression, or I wish he didn't get flushed out of the pocket because he had a wide open man, maybe for a touchdown or a big explosive play. You think, guess what? We drew up a good play there. Or the receiver made a great move and shook loose and we just missed him. It happens a lot. And you would see that and say, well, I hope he sees him next time, or he's got to get better. You wouldn't say that Mike Bobo can't coach football, and I guess we just doomed.
Oh yeah, season's over
as an OC.
Yeah, and you know, none of them really have any solutions as to who they would bring in to replace Bobo. And when they do, it's utterly ridiculous. Somebody completely unproven. Listen, we criticize Bobo. We've criticized Kirby, but when we feel it's justified, I think that Noah Thomas falling flat and now being desperate that his draft stock is much lower than he thought it should be at this point of his career. I mean, that's all that video was about. And you know what you show? I think you said it today. You said you showed that you're more of a Shedeur Sanders than a Brock Bowers or something like that. And that's what you're showing to NFL scouts. They see you putting that stuff out there. They see what you're insinuating when you do. They don't want that in their locker room.
It's part of the interview process. I mean, it really is at this point. You put that out there. Yeah. So if there's any way to divide a fan base, a Georgia fan base, any question, just ask that. Ask something about Mike Bobo, and you got people who are just got their heels dug in. And there's some good fans who feel that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't really agree with them because, I mean, Kirby doesn't agree with that. Yeah. And I just think I read before we went on air that Mike Bobo got a raise.
He did.
Maybe they get raises every year. I don't know how big of a raise, but he's not going anywhere.
I can tell you this: Mike Bobo got other offers this year too. People, I mean, it's not as though Georgia's the only place he could be.
But that's the question. I mean, that's also something some of the fan base, especially on the Dawg vent, will point out is y'all don't see anybody coming after Mike Bobo.
Well, that's the only reason they give raises like that he got.
We don't know. I mean, I don't. Maybe I don't think he's going anywhere else, no matter what. Listen, but yeah.
I mean, this is where he lives. He's not going anywhere else. He likes it here. He's with a program that's the standard bearer. Why would he go anywhere else?
But so is there any thought? Is there any credence to that? Maybe Bobo has underperformed. I mean, because we watch games, and I think in the heat of the moment, a lot of times, Smooch, we're all we have a pretty good chat group, and so the feelings come out about I think we kind of get ourselves together and get on firm ground later. But there are games when we question: is he good enough for our offense? Good enough, and is it his fault?
Well, what I question, you know this from listening to me on the thread. I questioned defense last year in defensive strategy much more than offensive strategy. No, I'll tell you honestly, and I don't think this is a Bobo problem. I think that Kirby's owned this. I think that they started the year with the wrong idea on how they were going to incorporate Gunner and this offense together. I think that they started the year with a Gunner-based run type of scheme, and they were trying to bring things along slowly. I'm more of a sink or swim guy. Throw the guy in, let's see what he's got, and if we need to put somebody else in, let's go for it. I think that by the end of the year, that when the offense was humming, let's not forget, people were talking about, can you believe we used to worry about Mike Bobo before the final game of the season?
Last game of the season. Yes.
Right. People were saying, oh my gosh, well, we've been proven wrong on that, and here we are, because the offense was humming.
We canceled a show. We canceled a whole show that was going to kind of get ahead of the game and talk about how well Mike Bobo really was.
Right.
And how he was he actually better than Monken, because everybody else because they had a couple of big games and everybody got on board with it. It was like, dang, Mike Bobo's really good. He is not a problem. Right. And so, but it's the last game, Smooch, that leaves the bitter taste in people's mouth. Mm-hmm. And if you look at that last game when people were saying, well, we got a lead, then we got conservative, there is an equal case to be made that Georgia threw the ball too much in that game early, was too aggressive when the run was gashing people.
Early in the game, they threw the ball way too much. And, you know, this gets into philosophy of coaching here. And that is, if you want to hear me criticize the coaching staff, here it is. I think that you've got to let Gunner and these receivers beat up on weaker teams, because Gunner has got to learn how to layer the ball against a zone defense, especially a match zone defense. So in a match zone, it's a zone, but when someone enters your zone, you pick them up man to man. There is no passing off, so to speak. I think that Gunner, by the time they were ready to unleash Gunner can rip a man defense to pieces. I mean, he's got good touch. He throws the ball accurately. I mean, you saw Tennessee. Tennessee loves to blitz and play man, and Gunner tore him a new one, right? Gunner looked lost at times in the biggest game of the season against this zone defense. And the reason is, well, I don't want to say it's the reason. I would hypothesize that the reason is because you don't get the reps against weaker competition and sort of working through that. They go with very vanilla game plans. And I hate the idea, and Kirby's always done this, that you go vanilla against weaker teams and work on, your very basic, tackle the guy with the ball, block the man in front of you, catch the ball when it hits you in the hands, very basic. And then when they get in the big games, that's when we get in the bag, and that's when we unleash this mighty offense. And I thought that when it was time to unleash them, they weren't as good as they could have been in the biggest game. And that's my criticism. I don't know if it's right, but it certainly feels that way to me. But you hear nowhere in that do I think did I say it was a Mike Bobo play calling thing? I think the game plan going in to Ole Miss was incorrect, because we should have just lined up and blown them off the ball with our running backs until they stopped it. And we could have beaten them into the ground.
It's almost like that surprised us, because, we had Drew Bobo was out at center, and they tried to scheme around that a bit.
Yeah.
And I felt like Ole Miss ran so many stunts that confused us up front.
Yep.
And like we said before, Georgia doesn't run a lot of stunts to try to get pressure on the quarterback, because it opens up running lanes, and Georgia was fine in running lanes. And I think it confused them a bit, because they thought that they had something, and that they could throw the ball on Ole Miss, and it just didn't work out that way. I don't think they were. Not to just talk about that game, but that's what leaves a bitter taste, just because I feel like before that game, I told you guys before, we all were sitting at a bar with one of our buddies, Chad Kennedy, and we were talking about, like, the week before that game or the week of the game, is that, man, Mike Bobo's been great this year. Mm-hmm. We've seen his sequencing and how he sequences plays and puts them together, and how he's using Tennessee's and having Tennessee breakers, and it's a thing of beauty, because and then Georgia was subpar in putting that game away against Ole Miss, and that's out the window, and you got to have somebody to blame. And that Bobo derangement syndrome, and because he's been here before, he had a history, and he had a great offense back then, but it was just a few plays back then. Yeah. And one of them was with Todd Gurley, where he didn't run the dang ball. Yeah. But I think he's really good. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he is exceptional at knowing what he's doing. And
he won me over with the play action fake to Zachariah Branch hitting a receiver deep down the field. That was a brilliant play that he set up for 4 games, because they would throw to Zach Branch on that little screen, and Zach Branch would get 8 yards. and then they fake it to Zach Branch. And they even pull all the blockers. Everybody blocks like it's a screen, and a receiver
Who did they
slips
throw
out
it to
deep.
on that?
I want to say London. I might be wrong.
Yeah, it was London. It's London Humphreys.
Yeah.
Well, he also had that play against Alabama in the SEC championship where he had Rod Robinson as the fullback and slipped him out.
Yeah.
That's never happening.
First reception of his career. Yeah.
For a touchdown, wide open.
A touchdown, wide open in the end.
When he did that, I was like, screw Todd Monken. You know, Todd Monken had Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey and Rosamie Jack Saint and James Cook and
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think this, I really believe this, looking back with this perspective now at this point where we are, where we're really about to turn all our focus to this next season. I think that if the Ole Miss game goes, if Georgia wins the Ole Miss game, the reaction toward Bobo is completely different. So you're really talking about one game, because I think Bobo has a pass this year and is considered the de facto offensive coordinator, a guy we need to keep if the Ole Miss game doesn't happen the way it did.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I get on these. It doesn't affect me I in terms of my response on the forums. I used to would have got on and argued with somebody, but you when somebody's got that derangement syndrome, whatever it is, there's no arguing, and they're convinced that they're right.
These are the same people that were saying it in week 2. Why can't we put Ryan Puglisi in? Let's not forget that. Let's get Gunner out of the game.
I mean, that's the question. That's what I mean with the Noah Thomas clips. They were saying, well, it's Bobo's fault. He chose. Mm-hmm. He might have drew the plays up. He chose if Gunner's not making that pass, well, it's his fault because he chose the quarterback. And it's his choice to have him in there instead of Puglisi or anybody else, which is ridiculous.
That ain't how that works. No.
Yeah, I mean, Gunner Stockton has earned his right. He is the best quarterback on this team. Or if he wasn't, somebody else would be there.
It's
not a one man. It's not a one man quarterback coach decision. It's not. Come on, folks. It's not.
No.
It drives me crazy when I see ridiculous commentary like that. And in my younger days, I would have got on there and looked probably just as dumb, just ridiculous responding to it. Now I just shake my head and put it on the Dawg show. So.
Yeah, having somebody or something to blame feels a lot better than getting beat by an interim coach when you had the lead at halftime. It stings. It should sting, but the last thing you do, you cannot rebuild your team every year and change the coaching staff and change the quarterback. We have continuity. I am much more encouraged by continuity with Gunner playing. Gunner's been with Bobo now 4 years, right? Gunner going into this season, this will be his 4th.
Well, he's always been a Bobo guy, though, too.
Yeah. And so Gunner going right. Gunner going into this season with that, and the coaching staff with no major changes, some different things on defense, but no major changes. And there's actually no major changes really anywhere. There's normal college changes, but nothing huge, no attrition. That continuity is far more exciting to me than some new sexy coach, which, by the way, it is rare in college football, not unheard of, but rare that a first-year offensive coordinator comes in and completely turns the tide. It is 2 and 3 years for players to learn his system and come in. We saw that at Georgia with Monken. People were calling for Monken to be fired during year 1 because the offense did not explode. It did when Stetson Bennett, learned it.
Even when Monken was at his best, there were games where we were scratching our head like, what are you doing? Why are we scoring 16 points? Why are we scoring 20
State,
points?
Missouri. Yeah, absolutely.
But what I can't argue is that the results with Monken in those elimination games, in those games that define everything, have been better.
Yes.
Is it play calling? Is it choking when things matter the most? Or is it players? Or do you have those couple of special players that make things easier? I don't know. That's always up for debate, but I don't think it's up for debate with me and Smooch and with rational football fans that Bobo's really good. He's just an easy punching bag. That's all.
And I would say that the last 2 national championships in this modern NIL era, they have one thing in common. Both of them had the best player in college football on their team. The Indiana quarterback this year, that kid just nobody was beating him in that game. It doesn't matter what the other team is or who his teammates were. He was not losing that football game.
Do you realize he didn't throw for a single 300-yard game in his Heisman winning season?
Isn't that crazy?
Season?
Yeah. And I'm not sold that they're talking about him being, a top 5 NFL draft pick. I'm not sold he's even going to be a decent NFL quarterback. I'll kind of be surprised. But he was an ideal college football quarterback. And he took a team of very mature, I won't say young men, just men. He took them to the big game. Gunner or somebody for Georgia is going to need to step up in that way. The idea of this cupboard full of talent that no one else has, that doesn't exist anymore. And we don't blame Bobo for NIL, people. It's not his fault. There is just a massive amount of parity. And you're going to see a team this year like Ole Miss come up that had not all of the expectations that comes up and is in the running for a national championship. You could very well see Lane go out to LSU and make a ton of noise this year when he starts putting those wide receivers to good use out there. Who knows? So somebody else will come up this year. You have just got to beat the people in front of you, and you've got to play your best in the biggest games. And under Bobo, we haven't done that yet. We laid an egg against Notre Dame. We laid an egg against Ole Miss. Both of those should have been winnable games.
Last 2 seasons, I've said this, that for players and for coaches and for programs, your legacy and you define yourself by what you do. As quarterbacks, what you do on third downs in the red zone and what you do in elimination games. And your legacy as that, and I get it filters through everyone. You define yourselves in those elimination games. In the last couple of years, Georgia hasn't been able to find a way to win those games. Last year, Georgia could have won that game against Ole Miss, and we probably wouldn't be talking about Bobo, or maybe we would have in the next game. We don't know. Yeah. But I did also see that. I will say, when you mentioned Mendoza, man, whether he's going to be a successful pro or not, one of the hardest jobs in all the sports is being an NFL quarterback. So it doesn't. If he's not great, it's no knock on how good
absolutely
quarterback
not.
He is.
That's
in
right.
College, especially. Yeah,
that's right. That's a different breed. It is a different, and it's honestly a different position in the NFL. It's not that it's just faster and more athletic. It's a different thing. You're protected more, and you're protected more in the NFL than you are in college. So it really rewards prototypical builds and your Patrick Mahomes type of guys. It hugely rewards them. So Mendoza's not all those things. I'll be very interested to see. I hope he does well, but I'm not sold that he's going to. I mean, he may end up being a Falcon. Who knows? But
oh goodness, what about that?
Yeah.
And I saw some stuff. It is talking season, and it's right in the middle of talking season right now. We're just getting going. But I've seen that Ryan Signetti and Ryan Day both chosen ahead of Kirby by some national pundits in terms of coaching staff. And I've also seen Gunnar Stockton at 10 in the top quarterbacks coming back, and totally left off the list in quarterbacks coming back. And I just find that very interesting, because I think a quarterback, whether you think he was a flash, I think flash goes a long way. If you think he was a flashy quarterback last year, buddy, he is built the right way to have a sensational season and to maximize every bit of potential he has this next year. I would not expect anything other than him to maximize his ability and to clean up some of the problems he had last year. Now, Smooch mentioned that he's not great at layering passes. It may just be this coaching staff recognizes that and says he can't gear it down on some of these throws. We'll call a different type of route tree that he won't have to do that as much. It won't be a big of a deal, and that's part of coaching. But leaving him off of a top returning quarterbacks is just
he's top.
The only thing
he's top 3.
Is ignorant. I think it's ignorance, honestly, because he's not flashy. But he is. He's
top 3.
He's one of the most fun stories in college football.
Yeah.
And then having anybody ahead of Kirby Smart, especially Ryan Day.
Born on third base, thinks he hit a home run.
Ryan Day. We know the stats
silly.
with him. We know.
I'll give you Cignetti. He's the newest, greatest thing. But Ryan Day, nah. I'll take Kirby any day than the NIL gajillions spent by Ohio State to bring in all those monsters. If you can't win with them, what can you win with?
So Smooch mentioned earlier, we do a lot of camping, and we haven't been this year yet. And it's been almost we go 3-4 times a year. Seems like this last year has been a little different, the last 6 months or so. But we enjoy camping. But man, one reason is because we are determined to prove the existence of the Sasquatch.
Yeah, we're gonna find him. Absolutely.
Bigfoot camp.
Yeah, Bigfoot camp, man. The best part about Bigfoot camp is you eat a lot of great food and you sit around the campfire and
you drink a lot of whiskey.
Yeah. And
if you listen to yeah, go ahead.
No, I can tell you that one thing I have learned over these last few years is that when you're miles away from people in the woods, there is some weird stuff that goes on out there.
We have documented some of that too.
Stuff, man. I mean, coyotes that sound like
demonic.
I mean, just crazy. Having your hammock shaking in the middle of the night, things hooting at you, whistling at you, you know.
That top of that hill, I think we've had 8. I can't remember. It's about 8 to 10 little Bigfoot camps that we'd go on. And if you listen to any of these podcasts and encounters where they talk about Bigfoot, a lot of this stuff happens like a lot of these things are going on like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Me and Smooch have an issue in that we eat really well. Smooch has been cooking for us. We eat great. We have a whole kitchen set up in the middle of nowhere. Because, like I said, you bringing everything in and a big fire. We've even made chili on the fire.
Yeah.
But we also drink whiskey. So it's really tough. It gets about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and we're like, man, I'm tapping out. I'm done. We're in the hammock. And so anything happens, we've been in our hammock on several occasions and had to wake up and said, what was that?
What
did I just hear? And I'm just raising my phone up, hitting the record button.
Yeah.
And there was 2 years, I think it was 2 years ago, on that same hill you're talking about in Tennessee, where I heard something like I said, there's nobody where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I can hear footsteps slowly. It was like I hear footsteps being careful in the leaves. And I'm like, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm getting up. I'm not laying here in this hammock. I got up and built a fire
like a burrito
in the morning. Like a burrito was the comment. I'm not going to be a burrito here. And so we get up. I get up. I can't remember if Smooch got up yet or not, but I was up. I was building a fire. Like, I'm not doing this. I was done.
Yeah. That was the night. It was you and I were probably about 100 feet away from each other, where we had our hammocks. And I'm laying there and I'm in that half asleep phase. Another thing is, one of the things about going to bed early is when you're in nature with no alarm clocks or anything, nature wakes you up at about 6. It's just your circadian rhythms take over because you're outside. And so I'm laying there, I'm half asleep. I had just put my phone away and I'm laying there and I'm trying to get I had put my roof up in case it rained, and I was thinking, you know what? I might take it down because I want to look at the stars, see if I can see the stars out of the little roof of my hammock. I decided not to, laid back down, kind of half went to sleep, and I'm right at the edge of sleep, and my hammock starts shaking violently, so much that I knew it wasn't even Troop messing with me.
You thought it was me?
No. Yeah, it was so violent. It was like, it wasn't like you were saying wake up. It was just this massive shake, and it actually threw me off balance. My feet went up and kicked the roof of my hammock. There's a bug net over the top of it. Yeah. I kicked the bug net and rolled around, and then I said, okay, what just happened? And instead of reaching for my phone, I reached for my pistol.
We do. We are
heavily armed. Yeah. It never crossed my mind. I went into survival mode. The idea of, what might this be? Let me film it. Never crossed my mind. It was like, I'm going to give a verbal warning. I'm going to start shooting out of this thing. And I never heard another sound, never felt another thing, nothing, just complete and total silence. But that was timed out right around your footsteps that you heard, weird stuff like that. We've been this whistling, kind of like a whippoorwill that was like really shrill and loud, started happening around us and popping off on either side of us. And it was just odd because no matter where it was surrounding us. Some weird stuff like that, some odd movements.
Yeah, what we do is we listen to all the different podcasts about Bigfoot. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It gives an opportunity to get out in the woods and camp and like we said, eat and drink and have a good time. But we listen to where these encounters are. And there's a place that we've been mostly in the land between the lakes, which is western Tennessee, just below. It's actually separated by the Tennessee-Kentucky border. Mm-hmm. There's nothing there. It was 177,000 acres of nobody on these little back roads, and we just find great campsites. There's a trail, like a north-south trail that people hike on, but we never see anybody hiking on it.
No.
We'll hike on that and find areas that we think are conducive. I think last year when we went, we did stay up late enough. We did a midnight hike and had a little headlamps and put the red light and hiked up to the top of a little clearing at midnight. And all we heard was coyotes. We got the coyotes going. That's it.
Sometimes there's nothing that happens, and there's owls and coyotes and stuff like that, and then so sometimes there's just nothing. It's just normal wood stuff. And then sometimes the strangest thing I think I've ever experienced is it was the very first time we went to Land Between the Lakes.
Yeah.
It got so quiet that I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. Like it was deafeningly quiet in the woods now with all the critters around. It was very, very surreal. And then that was when we started getting whistled at, and all that stuff happened a little bit later.
And we have thermal. We have thermal cameras and little night vision, and we have really good recorders and stuff. Record sounds on. And I got in trouble. Was it last year? I got in trouble because I spent like $1,000 on a
You did.
thermal camera.
And it broke the first time we used it.
My wife made me send it back. And so she's like, "You did what? How much did you spend on this camera?" I did not want to answer that question. I was like, I'll send it back. Because it stopped working because we were
filming something. Yeah.
We were filming something on about a 60-degree incline across the river, and where there were 3 heat signatures moving together, and there's no human walking on that.
No, you can't. You couldn't even sit on it. We couldn't sit on it. Right.
And I hit record, recorded it. And then that's the last time that camera ever worked. So my wife was happy I sent it back and got a refund, but anyway,
that was the night. That was the night out we were right beside a river, and where I guess you would call it a stream, but it was running very rapidly, like you wouldn't have wanted to fall in. And I was over there. I'd gone over to go to the bathroom, and I heard just but it was a female. It was the strangest thing. That's it. It was just that one little vocalization of some sort, but it was distinctly female. Now we're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that was up in North Georgia there too. That was
the same night you had the camera. Yeah.
Oh yeah, on a county road around the mountains. I can't remember the name of the mountain, or the area, but it was a little northeast of Ellijay.
Yeah. That was a weird night too. Your sons were with us on that.
Yeah, it was so cold that next morning. So
that was a rough one.
We had a couple of back-to-back cold trips, but typically I think the best temperature is we want to be cold enough. You have to build a fire.
Yeah,
and maybe 40 degrees, 35, 40 degrees is great
40,
for a low.
40 is perfect. 40.
Once it hits 20, a fire doesn't do anything. You can stand right next to a burning hot fire; it will not penetrate the cold.
No.
And so we did that a couple times back to back.
That night it was in the teens. You could almost stick your hands in the flames and not feel it. It was so cold. It was brutal. But 40 degrees is just about right. Waking up 40 degrees in the morning, getting breakfast going, getting that bacon on. Come on.
That's right. So folks, if you didn't know, we are Bigfoot believers, and that's just one of the things that we tag into men being men, getting out in the woods, and having some good food, good camaraderie. And
we're going to have that Joker mounted on the wall one day, because we will kill one if we see it. We're not about loving nature. We're about putting it on the wall. I'm just kidding. but we will kill one.
Right. Yeah. So we have. I always, and I do this no matter where me and Smooch go. We'll talk about Alaska another day, but wherever we go, I have some cocktails that I will make up, or I will kind of adapt or adjust, and just for that trip.
Yeah.
Yes, I will. Yeah, themed cocktails. There's always whiskey, because we don't bring any. I like some other drinks, but it's whiskey for us.
Yeah.
And so we'll do some themed whiskey drinks, and I'll just adjust them just a little bit so it fits our environment. And we did one. I don't know if you folks ever had that High West campfire.
That's perfect around the campfire.
Whiskey, and somebody had told me that if you're drinking it at home, it's got a little bit of scotch in it, a little smoky scotch in it. So if you're drinking it at home, it doesn't taste that great. But if you're drinking it next to a campfire, it fits right in. And they were right.
That is 100% true. Absolutely. We're going again in April, right? That's the next one.
We put dates down for April, and I think I'm going to do a little scouting trip up in Northwest Georgia, close to Lafayette, I think. There's been a lot of encounters up in that area, and it's about 4 hours from me, pretty close for Smooch.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to do a little scouting trip up there. They got caves and things up there, too, and make sure it's a good place for us. But there's been encounters that we listen to, and we've that's been documented, so we want to go where the activity is. We're heading up there in a few weeks. I guess it'll be about 6 weeks, right? Not too long.
Yeah, yeah, sounds good.
Our first trip of the season of the year. So
I got a guy here that wants to come with us, so I'm going to invite him. We'll see if he's just.
It's so funny because like when I brought my son Z the first time, and he's 26, but his first time we went to Land Between the Lakes, and it was spooky. But I'm telling you,
he was so.
You get out there,
man. He was.
You get out there, and there's no help. You're not around any convenience stores or any electricity.
There's not even a phone signal. There is nothing.
Yeah. And you are just camped out, and you don't feel like there's any protection, whatever happens. But he didn't really feel it until he's in his hammock, and them first coyotes kicked up.
And we're not talking about. We're not. We might have to play it on sometime. We're not talking about 10 coyotes. We're talking about what sounds like a couple of hundred coyotes.
It sounded like they're known to sound like.
It's probably
you can take 5 coyotes and it sound like 20.
Yeah, it probably is, but it is. It's
Smooch.
Eerie and deafening. Yeah.
There was something mixed in there.
Yeah.
And even though he's 26, he was like, "Daddy."
He did.
"Daddy, you hear that?"
There's something howling in the woods. Moaning. It's like a moan.
And I hit record on that. And I've sent it to several people now, because you keep telling me, "Hey, send this and hit this guy." Because you hear something in those coyotes that doesn't sound coyote-ish. It sounds like, what the heck is that? I do not want to be... I don't want to be a mile from what's making that noise. And so, we got that. We did record that. So, but anyway, my son's reaction to it was like priceless. Like, yep, you get used to coyotes after a while, but when you're back that deep in the woods and they get rolling, it is a very, very creepy sound. And but yeah, that's what we do. That's just one of our hobbies. We got several. We will talk about around the football topics as we go. But that's all I got, Smooch. I hope you guys let us know what you think about these After Darks and how we kind of are
absolutely
covering some different topics about us.
Give us some whatever you think we should talk about. As long as we want to, we'll talk about it. But but no, this is the kind of thing when we're in the woods, we're talking about either Georgia football or things that go bump in the night, or Alaska. That's pretty much,
and a lot of family stuff too. We talk about, the things that matter in our lives, and a lot of stuff like that. And I think me and Smooch are both got it all covered.
And we're both married to smoking hot blonde women.
That's right.
So
That's right.
We don't like to be away too long from the home base.
We've managed to keep them.
We've managed to keep them. You don't do that by being gone for a week.
It's not going to happen by accident.
Yeah, that's right. So it's good stuff.
All right, guys, we'll be back next week and talk a little bit more about the Georgia Bulldogs after the combine, anything else going on, and with another, I think, edition of just the Dog Show with Troop and Smooch. But thanks for tuning in. Give us a like on the way out. Give us a like and subscribe. Get those numbers pushed back up. We're fighting with a foreign entity right now to keep this kind of hacked into our system, but we're going to get it back going so you guys can see all our stuff.
All right, guys.
See you guys.
Night, guys.